And so then people start to figure this out, and you're having them every day paying attention to this field, keeping their awareness on it, staying present with it, becoming more aware of it, feeling it, moment after moment after moment, every single time they have an experience or they feel something. Experience lays down circuitry in their brain. So now they're laying down the hardware for them to experience that field even more the next time. And plasticity works where you have to stretch beyond the known. You have to stretch outside your comfort zone. So then as they start to interact with that field, with their awareness, not with their bodies, but with their awareness, the brain's tracking it neurologically. And so now they're putting the circuits in place for them to stay connected to the field. And then the side effect of that is they start producing greater effects on their life, because now they understand now what they're doing and why they're doing it. So we've seen all kinds of amazing things go on in these coherence healings, and I want to get better at it. I want our community to get really skilled at it, and they can work themselves up into this state. You can ask people that come to these events. The energy in the room is off the chart, and people, we're wired to give, you know. We're the happiest when we're taking care of one another, and that's what community is about. So we're starting to see this genuine, energetic thing that's happening where people are just popping, they're just healing. And it's exciting to me because, as I said, I'm waking up in my dream. I mean, this is my dream and it's happening, and so many other people are waking up in that dream, and we're giving people hope. Because even the most angry, unhappy, selfish person that's suffering because of some health condition, when they finally surrender, I've seen it happen. I've seen those people have a very significant change in a condition or a disease that medical science had no solution for. So how do you explain that, first of all? And second of all, if it's happening in real time to one person, or it's happening repeatedly, there's got to be some scientific model, because anything that's repeatable is science. So we're bridging on this whole new world here, a whole new realm. And then the last thing we're doing is, which is really super fun in our week-long events, is we're doing challenge activities. Now, why challenge activities? Well, we teach brain and heart coherence, really easy to do it in a closed environment, when there's music and the place is safe and everybody's sitting together and there's no threats or danger, and they practiced it with their eyes closed and they know they can concentrate and do it. But now, why not put those people in challenging conditions with their eyes open, where they would feel some emotion, like fear as an example, or a voice or a program saying, I can't do this. And now this is the time, right in that moment, where their body is going through a host of automatic reactions, and you're teaching them in that moment how to create brain and heart coherence. And if they can settle themselves down,
you're preparing them for the outside world.
They can go back into their life, and they can say, hey, this is nothing. You have no idea what I just did.
What kind of challenges are you doing?
Oh my goodness, I can't tell you because I want to ruin it, but I will tell you this. The one that we're doing in Toronto is outstanding. The one, I'm so excited about this one. I mean, we keep upping the scale, and we have people, you know, these are courses where, you know, they're physically challenged, and we have, but it's not about your physical body, if you're in shape. It's about your will, it's about your heart, it's about your soul. People that, you know, Alzheimer's and rheumatoid arthritis and spinal cord injuries, where they have every excuse not to do it. And I'm telling you, they accomplish that feat, and boy, oh boy, they're no longer in the subconscious belief that they're handicapped. And now their progress, their acceleration moves very quickly. So we do these challenges.
And that handicap is the ultimate manifestation of what you're doing, because that is something they potentially manifested physically.
We're all handicapped.
Right.
We're all handicapped.
It's just those you can really see
Right,
the step change that happened, as opposed to if I figured something else out about my own construct about my life. That might take months to play out.
And plus, where would you wind up standing on a pole, as an example, 50 feet in the air?
That one of the challenges.
And you have to stand up on a plate that's kind of wobbly, and then you have to turn around and jump. You know, I mean, you can't you can't tell me you're too old to do this. You can't tell me you're too sick to do this. You can't tell me you're too out of shape, too overweight, too underweight. You can't tell me you're not healthy. You can't tell me any of that stuff any longer, because I've seen all shapes and sizes do it. And so this community is being built where, instead of people competing and manipulating and backstabbing, you're seeing this community of cooperation and collaboration and built in love and encouragement. You know, it's emotional. I mean, it's just witnessing somebody doing something like that. It gives you permission to do the same. And then you get people standing up on the stage and telling their story about how they overcame stage 4 cancer. Not one person, not 2 people, 3 people. People overcome depression, people overcome whatever it is. And they're telling their story to the audience. And it's undeniable, and you're listening, and they don't look like a movie star. They're not buffed or in shape or young and perfect or whatever. They're just a common person. As you're listening to their story, and it's not all glorious, and it's not all, you know, movie theme. They took some hard bumps. They lost things. They got bankrupt. I mean, they've had their challenges, and they never missed a day of their meditation. You start looking at those people, and you start realizing that, wow, all the things that you thought that you were feeling sorry for yourself about, you can't. You just can't. So there's a 4-minute mile that's being broken in our community. We're piercing a veil. And that veil is so important, because it's happening, once we pierce it, it's in consciousness, it's in the field, which means it's more readily accessible. Great. But also, if you're witnessing it, miracles that you see that are so incredible, when you witness it and you're talking to the person next to you about it, now it's in the consciousness of 3-dimensional reality.
It means you can do the same thing.
A 4-minute mile, once it was broken,
right.
You know this, you're an athlete. I mean, everybody knew that they could do it.
Right.
So
it's just a limiting behavior.
Just a limiting belief. So
right.
We're seeing these people. I love it. I love what happens as a side effect of people, because once people understand it from a philosophical and theoretical standpoint, and then they can explain that to the person next to them. If they can't explain it, it's not wired in their brain. They got to be able to share and build a model and review it and fire and wire and repeat it and argue and analyze and think about it and get this kind of model in place that's represented neurologically. They're installing the hardware in their brain in preparation for the experience. So the more they understand it, the more they understand what they're doing and why they're doing it, the more it makes sense to them. The how gets easier, because they can assign meaning to what they're doing. So then when you set them up in the conditions and nothing's left to conjecture or superstition or dogma, they understand what they're doing, and they get their behaviors to match their intentions, there's going to be a transformation. And so it's just like this amazing energy that happens by the 2nd or 3rd day. If it's a great group, and we've had so many great groups, it's just a landslide. It's just everybody, there's just a current that just starts pulling people down, and everybody goes. And so
how do you keep people from regressing back to their old behaviors when they go home?
I'm on them all. I'm on them the whole entire time.
All right. So you're challenging them, but because that's the hard part, right? Going back to that 3-dimensional space.
So it's a good conversation, because many people go unconscious again. And they return back to their unconscious behaviors and thoughts and reactions emotionally. And we all do it. And but I'm happy to say that our community of people do the work. They do the work. They're not philosophers. They're engaged. I'm proud of that so many of our community make time in the morning to do their meditations.
That's what it's about. It's not a week of enlightenment, you go home, and this is really about doing the work when they get home.
Yeah, but you know what? I hit it 1,000 different ways. And like when we finished Cancun, I had so many people saying to me, stopping me in the elevator or wherever, saying, I got it. I just never understood it like I understood it. And I'm so excited. They connect. And now they don't, it's not like, oh God, I got to do my meditation today. They're like, the magic's happening. I want to keep the magic going. I want to keep it going. So we have this new thing we're doing called Leaving the Monastery. And it's just a way for us to provide a service to our advancing community where I come on and remind them of what they're doing and review things so that they can stay connected and be accountable for what they're learning. And it's a way for them to stay conscious. And then we finish the event with the mystical and the interest in activating latent systems in the brain so that people can have an experience that changes them forever. That we're not linear beings living a linear life. We're, in fact, very dimensional. And when you begin to activate these latent systems, there's a connection between the physics of the field with the biology of the brain. And when that system switches on, people really have a very profound, full-on sensory experience without their senses. And it's been really cool because when we did Berlin, we had...
Can you engineer this?
Yeah, we can make it. We can stimulate it. In fact, it's another formula.
And it happens on the 7th day, though, after all.
6th and 7th, the last 2 days we do it. Okay. And we're up early in the morning because that's when the neurotransmitters are at, the raw materials are at their height.
That's when you connect with the divine, around 4:30 in the morning, right?
That's my time.
That's your preferred time.
Yeah, that's my time.
Is this the kind of experience, with mystical experience, connecting with the divine?
Yeah. And again, very, very specific science that we discuss. The people have a great understanding of the process.
That's important to you, the science.
The science is the language.
Why is that? Because a lot of people that would do what you do, they wouldn't bother with the science because it would work.
Because the science is the language of mysticism. I mean, the moment you start talking about a religious or tradition or an ancient culture, you're going to divide an audience because you hear a certain word and you can't associate with it, or you have a meaning that's not the correct meaning. You divide a community, you divide an audience, and I think science unifies. And plus, whoever said whatever 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 years ago, that was the language of 2,000 or 5,000 or 1,000 years ago. It wasn't the language of today, you know. So science is that language, I think. And so when you begin to bridge the mystical with the science and you start talking about these systems, in fact, actually, when we are in Toronto, we're going to stream the teaching for this particular meditation called the pineal gland meditation. We'll stream it on I think it's on a Wednesday night, I think it's September 4th or September 5th. And then Thursday, you can join the group and actually do the meditation with our community.
This is the mystical part.
This is the mystical part, and boy, oh boy, you know, when people connect and have those mystical experiences, I mean, the energy and the craziness and the wonder and all that stuff is pretty exciting. So I love that stuff because when you start having those mystical moments, you start taking this reality a lot less seriously. And on my own personal journey, I can tell you that, well, I've had some crazy mystical moments in the last few months, and it's exciting. You're less interested in politics. You're less interested in the way you look. You're less interested in what people think about you. You're less interested in so many other things. Your mind is preoccupied with how big this reality is of possibilities. So it's a full week, to answer your question, and we have team leaders that help connect with the community, that help them answer questions, you know, make sure they're doing okay. So they're big events, but we have great team leaders that work with our community to keep them